Welcome to the Girls Project, the gathering of independent resources for living successfully. Today we are speaking to Corinthia Cromwell, who's a national recording artist, multi-instrumentalist, band leader, gospel, jazz, and R&B saxophonist, vocalist, and composer. Although Corinthia performs for heads of states, she took the time to come to our safe space to inspire us so that we too can reach our successful living.
Because I thank you so much for having me. It is truly my honor to be here with you and to be able to share my history and who I am for the next generation that is to come, the next conquerors that are going to come. So I'm excited about being here and speaking with you. I guess I feel most successful playing saxophone. While I am a classically trained clarinetist, that's what I went to Howard University, HU, no. I went to Howard and I joined there as a classical clarinet player, but quickly just my whole world opened up to so many different realms of music and instrumentation that it was like my world went from this to like this with just that experience. And so, again, classical clarinet player, but I had already started playing saxophone in high school because one of my teachers, he was an amazing teacher, still is today, we are friends. He gave me a saxophone over a holiday weekend and said, take this home, learn it, come back and audition for the big band, for a jazz band. I came back, auditioned, I got first chair. And, it kind of started from there. The one blessed thing is that my parents allowed me to experiment with everything so I could find out what I was most passionate for. I mean, when I say I tried everything from martial arts to modeling to football, baseball, everything. But it was music that captured me the most. And when I saw just how powerful music is, it just opened me up to say, wow, this is where I want to be, because I want to be able to use my music to heal people. It was just like it was laid out for me. And even as a kid, I would do things like I would hold shows in my basement. Me and my sisters dancing, having shows and just doing production, but it was always music. And while all the other kids were outside playing, I was in my basement listening to music, learning music. It was just a blessing. There's so many. And I think it's going to be different than from what people think it is. So when I was at Howard University, I had a double major where I had performance, and I also majored in music therapy because I knew that music had the ability to heal people. So I remember my very first just like explosion was I was working with a patient at a psych hospital. And when I read her background, I had heard that she, hadn't spoken for many, many, many years. And so she was one of my patients. So I'm in my office one day and I'm trying to find music to start my therapy session out with. And I happened to find this Barry Manilow record. And the song was, I Made It Through the Rain. I did not know who Barry Manilow was. So I put the record on and it's playing. And this patient who had not spoken for almost 30 years walks into my office and says, I like that. So, I was floored. I was like, oh my God, she spoke. It just floored me. It absolutely floored me. And that's when I said, wow, the power of music has the ability to cross over a barrier, to reach into the heart of people and make a change happen. So that for me really set me like, okay, I know that I've got to do more than just entertain. I've got to inspire, encourage people and help to open up, doors. And I've had, when I say so many experiences, but another one that stuck out was my band. We were playing here in Maryland at an outdoor festival. And we were doing like R&B music. I was doing R&B jazz, a combination. And we're playing and we're just grooving. Everybody's just grooving, jamming. And there was this man there in a wheelchair. He had one leg. And we were grooving so hard. This man stood up, started jumping around on his one leg, dancing without his wheelchair. And I said, I was sent here for that man right there. Because to get him to get up out of his wheelchair, forget all about the safety measures that, or, fear that I'm going to fall or whatever. He just got up and started dancing. So while there were, thousands of people there, my mind, I was there for that man and changed that man. And I think the one other one, and this one really just ministers to my heart. When I did my CD release concert, I had Kirk Whalum. He was my guest artist. And I held it in a church, but we did both jazz and gospel in a church setting. So what blew my mind, there was a man that came, and after the show was over, he comes up to me and he says, I'm so glad that I came to your show. He said, because someone gave me a ticket. And I said, I'm going to go to her show. He said, but my plan was to come to your show. And after your show, I was going to go home and kill myself. He said, but after this, I don't want to do that anymore. So that, of course, I'm like, this show, this performance, this release was for that man because it changed his mind from wanting to go home and kill himself. They have so much in them that is yet to be birthed, and that they have opportunity to birth it all. So don't give up, but reach for those things that you may think are unreachable. Discover those things in you that are uniquely you. The understanding that I hope that they get is that what they've been called to do, only they can do. When you think about, if you don't do what you're called to do, someone else that is in expectation of receiving what you're called to do may not receive it. And that could be the difference between life and death. Find that in you, which you are called to do. And it may be, even if you are called to be, now I want to make sure that people understand this. Let's say if you're called to be a hairstylist, there's more to it than just being a hairstylist, or a barber, when they sit down in your chair, that's an opportunity for you to minister to that person. You listen to that person. You can offer suggestions to that person, and it could possibly change their mind. And it also creates a situation where they're put in a vulnerable position. They're in a chair, and you're working on their head. So they're in this vulnerable position, yet they let their guards down enough to allow you to do their hair. And then they feel free enough to say, this is what's going on at work. This is what's going on in my family. This is what's going on, with my neighbor, with my neighborhood. And there is this platform for hairstylists while they're doing your hair to even, speak to someone, inspire and encourage someone. So it doesn't matter what your field is. It's your call to do something that somebody else needs. It's almost the way of, like I always tell people, it's like an invention, right? You don't know you need it until you need it. And so when I think about things that I need, things that I have invented, is because I needed it and no one else had invented it. So if no one else has invented it, it's my job to invent it because I need it. And surely if I need it, somebody else needs it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here and to speak to these wonderful, beautiful, amazing, gorgeous, awesome young ladies and men. I'm looking forward to see what they're going to do. So thank you, Zaya.
Wonderful and marvelous, victorious and glorious. You are one.